It's mock draft time here at Miami Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff. The NFL Combine has came and went, and I think it's a good time to look at some of the prospects that may be on the Dolphins' radar after the Combine. And I also will say this is the final mock draft before free agency, which is important to note because the next time we do a mock draft, we'll have a much more clear picture of what the Dolphins actually need to do in the NFL draft. So there will be no more mock draft as we are 1 week away from free agency. But that's also why you need to subscribe because it starts on March 10th. We'll have you up to date on every single free agency player rumor, the news when the Dolphins sign players, players from their roster sign elsewhere, plus NFL draft news as well. We're 400 subscribers away from 68,000. Can we get to 68,000 before free agency starts on March 10th? Let's do it. Hit that sub button today. All right, the Dolphins with the 13th pick. I have them going defensive back at number 13. Jahdae Barron, the DB from Texas. This is someone who is rising up boards, someone who has really caught my eye quite a bit. He is a versatile DB. And I think the word DB is really important here because, yes, he played corner at Texas, but he could play safety in the NFL. He performed really well at the Combine. Yeah, he's a little undersized, not completely the biggest guy. That height is a little bit of a concern, which is why there is some talks about maybe him moving over to safety. But he's got good weight. He's got good arm length to him. And he is a speedy guy as well. Good 40-yard dash at 4.39, ranking in a top percentile in terms of speed. But the vertical, the height, the weight, that's where it's not as good. But I think Miami Dolphins fans need to get to learn Jahdae Barron, the DB from Texas. He might not even be available at 13 because he's rising up boards. NFL insider and analyst Daniel Jeremiah have compared him to Brian Branch Jr. of the Detroit Lions. He could play corner. He could play safety. He can cover. He can get downhill and make some tackles in the run game as well. I think Barron could be an excellent Javon Holland replacement, but also, if the Dolphins view him as a corner, could be that Kendall Fuller replacement on the boundary opposite of Jalen Ramsey. Barron is someone definitely in play for Miami at 13. And when you look at his coverage stats from a season ago, it was absolutely elite. He led a Texas secondary that was among the top of college football. I mean, how about that? Under 50% completion percentage, did not allow a touchdown. He was targeted quite a bit this past season, and it was still a no-fly zone. QB rating at 33.1. Look at the PBUs. I don't remember the last time I've seen a prospect have that many PBUs because usually when you're a top corner and secondary member, you just don't get targeted by opposing college offenses. He did, but still lived up to it. Jahdae Barron was an absolute lockdown corner this past season for the Texas Longhorns defense. Flash speed at the Combine, has versatility. I'm a big fan of him potentially in the first round for Miami. But let me know what position the Dolphins should take in round one right now. I know a lot of people might answer, they need offensive line, they need defensive line. I understand that, but I think Miami is going to address the offensive line in free agency, which is going to clear the way for secondary or defensive line. But let me know, as of right now, what position Miami should take in round one. I'm going to go defensive line in round two here with pick number 48. Defensive lineman Landon Jackson from Arkansas is most likely an edge at the next level. You want to talk about a freak athlete. After the Combine, his stock is rising. Already viewed as a second-round pick, in my opinion, coming into this week, but really solidified that, maybe even worked himself into the end of the first round. You see that explosion grade in the bottom left of that picture right there. His vertical and broad jump, top percentile in the NFL Combine, also flashed elite speed. That is a true indicator of his ability to get off the football on that defensive line. But he's also been an experienced collegiate player. Could have came out of the draft last year from Arkansas and probably been a day two pick, either late second round, early third round, but came back, put up decent numbers for that Razorbacks defense, and now is going to be fringe first, early second round. And if he's on the board for Miami at 48, I think he's someone that Chris Grier could strongly consider. A combination of the future of Jackson and Robinson would be very interesting in Miami. And in my opinion, based off who the Dolphins met with at the Combine that's been reported at this point, and based off the team profile that Miami is, I would expect the Dolphins to draft a front seven member in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. I would not be shocked if it happened in round 1 or round 2, because at the edge position, Chubb is an aging veteran. Jalen Phillips is 1 year left on his contract. So Chop Robinson is the only edge rusher you have solidified there for the future, but you also don't have an interior defensive lineman next to Zach Sealer. So I think a defensive lineman is someone Miami is going to draft early on. Jackson has a lot of good physical traits that I know Chris Grier would like. All right, we're going to go to round 3 here and address an offensive line spot. And this is interior guy Tate Ratledge, who at the time of filming this did not have his combine numbers come out. But then as we are actually filming, they just did. He ranked in the top 5% at the NFL Combine in terms of athleticism. So this is an interior offensive lineman that will probably rise up boards, not even be there in the 3rd round potentially for Miami after the Combine. But he had a great year for Georgia in limited playing time due to injuries, but just had a ridiculous metric standpoint at the Combine, and will now probably be someone high on Miami's board considering how athletic he actually is. Ratledge is someone that I would expect Miami to keep an eye on, because we know that Miami's zone scheme needs guys that can get to the perimeter, get to the boundary in that run blocking scheme. All right, we're going to go to round 4 and draft a tight end here. Gunnar Helm, the tight end from Texas, who did not have the best NFL Combine, but the Miami Dolphins did meet with Helm. And there's a couple players on this mock draft that Miami met with that will tell you which ones they are, but the Dolphins clearly want to draft a tight end. And Helm is someone that intrigues me, but had a bad week at the NFL Combine. His relative athletic score numbers were terrible. They ranked way below what people expected in both vertical, 40-yard dash. He's got great size to him, but the speed and explosion grades were not good. And a lot of people were like, well, is he going to be falling down boards now? Well, here's this crazy Combine story that came out on Sunday morning. Gunnar Helm, before he did his first 40-yard dash run, false started. He also sprained his ankle. He posted pictures on social media of his ankle. This thing is black and blue. This thing's absolutely massive. Looks like me after turning an ankle at LA Fitness on a weekend. I mean, this 40-yard time and explosion grade from Gunnar Helm is not a true accurate picture of how athletic he is. Now, is he the most athletic guy of all time? No, it's not going to improve by like a crazy amount where he's running a 4.5 as a tight end. That's not going to happen. But those grades you saw from Helm are not a true indictment of who he is as an athletic player. So this is someone that I think Miami will still take a look at in the NFL draft. And it's very clear Miami will draft a tight end this year. Jonnu Smith is entering the final year of his contract. Julian Hill is still on that roster, but they cut Durham Smythe, so they're probably looking for a 2nd or 3rd tight end to complement Jonnu Smith, but also looking for someone of the future. And Gunnar Helm is someone they met with. Miami met with multiple tight ends at the Combine. Jake Brenningschool from Clemson, Tyler Warren from Penn State, Gunnar Helm, Mason Taylor from LSU. It's clear that this front office and coaching staff is looking to draft a tight end in the middle rounds this year, so I think Helm could definitely be an option. We got 6 more players to talk about on this mock draft, but we are sponsored by PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports platform out there. I play PrizePicks on a daily basis, and hopefully you will join me, because PrizePicks is now available to play in California, Texas, Georgia, more states, 30 to be exact. They invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out of your lineup even if it isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Sign up today to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. You can play so many different ways, season long, daily. With no football, you can go to basketball, you can go to hockey, you can go to golf, you can do season long baseball. I've got a daily entry here on the basketball world. Less than Jalen Brunson, 25 points. More than OG Anunoby, 14.5 points. Less than Ware, 10 field goal attempted. And more than Tyler Hero, 19.5 points in the Heat Knicks game later today. 4-player entry there. Just an example of how you can play. Join me and the millions of others. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, download the app today. Use code CLNS and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Second, fourth round pick here from Miami, a favorite of mine. I have a crush on this guy. I'm not going to lie, I do. Pat Bryant. I am a massive fan of him, and I think Miami should absolutely target him in either the late third round pick, early fourth round pick, if he is available. I am a massive fan because of his size and his versatility. He's 6'3", 200, so he is that physical X type of wide receiver on the outside that Miami could use in the red zone, complement Jalen Waddle long-term in replacement of Tyreek Hill. As I have said this multiple times, I think this is Tyreek Hill's last season in Miami due to his contract and age. And Pat Bryant was extremely productive as a pass catcher in that Illinois offense a year ago. But the reason why I really like him is his mentality and the fact that he is a good run blocker and a willing run blocker. We know in Mike McDaniel's scheme that you need to block well in the run game in order to get the ball in the passing game. The scheme requires a lot from its wide receivers blocking. You see it with Shanahan in San Francisco. You see it with McVay in Los Angeles. McDaniel runs the same type of scheme. And at the Combine, Pat Bryant says he believes no block, no rock. And I know a lot of wide receivers will say that, but Bryant's physicality in that run blocking game makes me intrigued with him as a prospect. If Miami drafted him, I think he would be on the field quite a bit for this football team, blocking in the red zone, blocking in short yard situations, and being a threat in fades and slants. I really like Pat Bryant. I'd like to get him in this building. We're going to move over to round 5 here. We're going to go with linebacker Kobe King from Penn State. This is someone that I'm intrigued with as well. Did not test at the NFL Combine, but has great measurables, physical, downhill linebacker. There are some concerns in terms of how he can cover in the pass game, which is very warranted when you look at Kobe King as a prospect, but he is a physical guy, 6'1", 245. He had a lot of tackles for that Penn State defense, gets downhill. Similar player to Jordan Brooks, which could make him a question mark on how he would fit next to Brooks as that second linebacker. But if you already sign a linebacker like Tyrell Dodson in free agency, I think Kobe King would be an excellent third linebacker behind the two of them. Could be a nice little Jordan Brooks understudy as well. I like King being available in the middle rounds for the Miami Dolphins. We're going to go running back here in the second, fifth round pick. Ollie Gordon II, the former top running back in all of college football in 2023. And the Dolphins met with Ollie Gordon, former All-American. This is a physical downhill running back that I think would complement Jalen Wright and Devon Achane really, really well. And Mike McDaniel at the Combine said Miami will add 2 to 3 running backs this offseason via the draft and free agency to make a well-rounded room alongside Wright and Achane. I think Gordon would be that guy. 6'2", 225. Had a hell of a career at Oklahoma State. Didn't have as good as a 2024 as he did in 2023, which is maybe why he is kind of a round 5, round 6 pick guy right now. Didn't explode and jump off the page at the Combine in terms of his testing. Ran a 4.61 40, which is just okay. But when you compare that to his height and size, it still grades out to a pretty solid athletic prospect. 8.16 out of 10. That's not bad whatsoever. And like I said, this is someone who is a change of pace, a downhill physical running back. We have Achane and Wright, who are that athletic pass freaks who can just get to the boundary and beat you with speed. Gordon would be someone that beats you with physicality and his vision in between the tackles. I think Miami will be interested in him, and I think they will like him after they met with him. So I would expect Gordon to be on Dolphins draft board for the middle rounds on day 3. But what say you? Should the Dolphins draft a running back? I am under the belief that you should draft a running back almost every single year because you never know with some of these round 5, round 6 prospects who can hit and just be dominant. So let me know your thoughts. Type Y for yes or type N for no. All right, 3 more picks on this mock draft. We always will be taking a QB almost in every single mock draft. We're going Seth Henigan from Memphis. Was one of the quarterbacks at the Combine. Okay player from Memphis a year ago. Had some decent numbers like his size, 6'3", 215. I just preferred to wait on quarterback a little bit in this mock draft. I could have took Ewers or Shuck in the third, fourth round, but I like some of those other guys I got, like Ratledge, like Ollie Gordon, like Kobe King. So I waited a little bit, took Henigan, who could be an experimental, developmental guy from the AAC out of Memphis. We're going to move on to our second seventh round pick out of three, Malachi Moore, the safety from Alabama. And I think it's a very good chance he's not available in the seventh round when things are all said and done in late April for the 2025 draft. But Moore met with the Dolphins. He did. And he said the Dolphins meeting went really well. Moore had a pretty productive season for Alabama. Not going to jump off the page by any stretch of the imagination, but with Miami meeting him, having the clear need at safety, yeah, you took Jahdae Barron, who could be a safety type of guy for you this upcoming year. I think taking Moore, if he's there in the seventh round, would be very, very valuable. And we'll close out with an offensive lineman, Clay Webb from Jacksonville State. Not much to say on him. You're just throwing darts here in the seventh round, but I do think it would be smart to take some depth pieces and some shots on late round offensive linemen, see if anyone can stick as at least a depth piece. That's always a motto that I would try to live by. You saw 10 picks in this mock draft. We took Jahdae Barron in the first round, Landon Jackson in the second, took guard in the third, and filled out some offensive pieces as well throughout the draft. Grade my mock draft before NFL free agency, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know your thoughts down below. All right, to wrap it up on today's show, I do want to say this. The next time we do a mock draft, we will have a much more clear picture of where Miami is going and their direction this offseason, because I'll do probably a mock draft not this upcoming weekend, but the following weekend, because free agency starts on March 10th. We'll probably have the first 5 days of free agency go by, and then that Saturday or Sunday will be the mock draft post-free agency. We'll know where Miami lost players, where they re-signed players, who they added from exterior in terms of free agents. So, because if they draft sign two offensive linemen in free agency, and they are projected starters, we probably know they're not taking one in the first round. They sign a couple defensive linemen, well, maybe they do go corner in the first round. So we will have a much more clear picture on what Miami needs in the draft, at least the top, after free agency. So stay tuned for that. But also be subscribed, because during the free agency week, we will have you covered on all news, all rumors, who Miami is linked to, who they actually signed, Javon Holland, where he ends up. We'll have you covered on everything surrounding the Dolphins. So hit that sub button and join the channel today.